Hey guys, it's Kamaguno. Today I'm doing The Amazing Spider-Man issue 665. Let's talk about the cover. I really enjoy the cover, the concept, and the art. Art-wise, I like plain art. Plain and simple art sometimes is the best art. It's like, I would say, the coloring of it. Like Francis Maple's plain simple, but amazing, I feel. And that's why I really love this cover. In the concept, it's all about movie night with Betty Grant, and Peter. So having the whole movie sign definitely was perfect for the concept of this cover. Definitely not misleading at all. So let's talk about the inside of this comic. Um, what happens is that it talks about Betty and Peter movie night. Now, Peter has been busy with his job, Avengers, FF, all Spider-Man, everything. So he hasn't really had the time to do this movie night as often. Now, Betty really wants to see this movie, and it's only out in one theater, bad part of town, and so she goes by herself, and she gets jumped, so she goes to the hospital, and Peter wants revenge. So he goes to everybody. He's like, where's Betty? Boo boo. Like who did this to Betty? Trying to hit everybody and trying to see what happened. But everyone else is just staying in the hospital. And Aunt May gets kind of upset. Calls up Peter. Peter, this is not nice what you're doing to your friend. Work doesn't come first before Betty. So he leaves the revenge part for later and then goes to Betty and has a little movie night in the hospital. But in the end, he does get revenge and he finds out who the person was and ties him up for the police. And that was pretty much the end of this issue, but I think that was the end. Because it says, like this, you wouldn't think this was the end because it says, because it's talking about like endings of a movie or whatever. So they do a question mark at the end, but it wasn't really the end, and you would think it was the end actually, but they had a little piece showing that Spidey did get the person that jumped Betty. So this issue is definitely, a fun one-shot kind of issue. We haven't seen Betty in a little while in Amazing Spider-Man. We have seen her in Venom because Flash and Betty are going out, and boyfriend and girlfriend, so we do see her in Venom, but we haven't really seen her in Amazing Spider-Man in a pretty long time. So seeing her in this and seeing how much of a friendship that Peter has with Betty was really nice to see. And I think Peter kind of learned something in this issue. What he's always stuck in his head since he's become Spider-Man when he was so young, when he was a teenager, he always goes out with the revenge card a little bit too often before he really sits down with his loved ones and try to comfort them. But he always goes out, becomes Spider-Man, puts the mask on, and pretty much puts revenge on them. And, sometimes it's too late to be with the loved ones and sit down. And in this issue, something I didn't like, actually. Aunt May was talking about Uncle Ben and how he died and she was all alone and Peter wasn't there, but Peter was getting revenge. So, seeing Aunt May's like kind of blaming that on Peter, making him guilty when he's already been guilty for how many years about this. So I felt that was kind of out of character for Aunt May. Aunt May's really never does that. She doesn't. She's more of a kind. She's like, Peter. She doesn't like blaming people. So seeing that in this issue, seeing Aunt May blame Peter, making him more. I mean, yes, it did make Peter go to the hospital with Betty, and yes, that was good for Aunt May that she did that. But I feel like she could have done it a different way. Instead of blaming. I don't feel like Aunt May's the person to blame. She doesn't blame people as often. So I felt that was a little out of character for her. But definitely I really love this issue. A nice and fun issue before this big story arc that's coming, Spider Island, which I am really excited for. I'm always really excited for big Spider-Man events. I remember I was really excited for Omit, which I really should have been excited for in one moment in time. But I'm really excited for Spider Island. I know there's a preview with Mary Jane and her maybe getting spider powers. I saw a little preview of Carly getting spider powers. So there's a lot of people getting spider powers, and I'm very excited for it. So it's nice to see a little fun issue before we get into a big, big story arc that's gonna last a lot of issues. So it's gonna last months. And Spider-Man comes out uh, 3 times a month or 2 times a month. I think it's 3 times a month. 2 times a month, maybe, I don't know. But it comes out more than once a month, Spider-Man, so we're gonna get a lot of Spider Island and a lot of action, and it was good to have a little slow, fun story to begin with that. And I also liked, I feel bad for Peter, kinda, like, when you watch a movie, I'm gonna give you this. Like, when you're watching a movie, you kind of feel stressed at some points, right? So, like, Toy Story, there's always one stress point, then another stress point. So you kind of feel stressed for Peter when, everyone's kind of blaming Peter. You're not here, you worry about your job. And Mary Jane's the only one that says in her mind, alright, Peter's Spider-Man, he has all this on his plate. And then you see everyone pointing fingers at Peter, but he has so much on his plate, like, what is he gonna do? And he really is trying his best. And Mary Jane's really the only one that sees that. And Mary Jane even talked to Aunt May, like, trying to say, oh, Peter's just out of job, he's probably busy. But knowing that Peter, I know what Peter's doing. He's doing Spider-Man, trying to get revenge. Like, Mary Jane knows him, like, better than anybody. So, seeing that, you kind of feel stressed for Peter. But I kind of like that in this issue. The art definitely, I would say Spider-Man art changes so much. They just change the artist a lot, I guess, because, you can't really get a person for art, to do so much story, I would say. So you have to get a lot of different artists because there is so many issues that come in a month for your 2 issues a month, and that's a lot for artists. Artists takes a lot, like writers writing issues. Yes, it's a lot, but I think a writer could maybe have a little bit more on their plate because it doesn't take as long as the artist to draw everything. So they get different artists a lot. Amazing Spider-Man. And this issue I really, really liked. Plain and simple again. A little different. But definitely one of the best art for Amazing Spider-Man. Sometimes I'm not in love with the art for Amazing Spider-Man, but this issue I really enjoyed it for having that. So the only thing that was bad was the out of characterness of Aunt May. But everything else, especially if you're a Betty fan, you'll definitely love this issue. And you need a fun issue before you get into a big story arc like Spider Island. So this was Comic Uno, and I gave this issue a 4.5, and I say pick it up. So, see you guys. Sorry, guys. Because on my webcam, you have to press stop, and sometimes the mouse misses. So, alright, see you guys.